Okay, hello everybody, Sword here again with another replay, and today we are going to be looking at a TvP that I played on Summary, and we are going to be going up against the lovely Gretorp. I don't know if you guys know him, but he used to be, I believe, a caster back in the day, and I actually am not too sure what he was doing up nowadays. Um, but regardless, I believe he used to be a Grandmaster player. I might be mistaken about that, but he is quite the good player when I did face him. And I think he was using some slightly a weird strategy. Looked like he was just getting back into the game, and he didn't really fully know the meta and stuff like that. And yeah, as we can see in the chat, it looks like he just reinstalled. Had it uninstalled for 5 years. That is a long period of time. StarCraft 2 has been out for a good, let's see, 10? 10, almost 11? Mm. And if he quit and just reinstalled it after 5 years, I guess that means he was in StarCraft until, uh, how does it go? Okay, so 2 years after StarCraft 2 was released, then Heart of the Swarm came out, and then 2 years after that, um, Legacy of the Void came out, so I guess he quit a little bit into Legacy. But anyway, getting a closer look at this game, looks like I'm going to be going for Reaper Expand. It does look like I have actually started to scout on this account, which is great. It looks like it is my main account, which isn't actually this account anymore. I renamed it to Not a Sword for a Joke video, and then I actually never changed it back, so it is what it is. It looks like Gretorp is going to be going for a Forge. I'm going to be poking with my Reaper to see what I can find. The Reaper gets a little bit of intel. All I can really see is that a Stalker is out, and not much else. I'm not entirely sure if I was able to see the timing of the cybernetic score and understand what it fully meant. But I do have my Reaper on the edge of his base just to try and see what I can. Do I know that he has 2 pylons? I do, which is great for me. And it looks like my Reaper is going to be popping in from the low ground on this map, trying to get a probe kill, but unable to since the Stalker is in position, and it looks like I'm going for the trusty old 3 racks strat. So 3 racks is I personally feel like it's the strongest strat in TvP because it gives you map control, and because you can get early map control, you prevent the Protoss from getting a super early third, and then you can play a more even game, I feel, so they can't just spam Zealots really early in the game if they go into a Twilight opening. But I know there are a bunch of professional Terran players that go for the early factory into Widowmine drop to get some intel, get some possible probe damage done, although most of the time it only gets like a couple probe kills at most. Looks like the Reaper is going to be continuing to poke around. It looks like I know that he doesn't have his third base over here as of yet. If the Protoss does go for an early expand, I believe it's around 4 minutes and 30 seconds roughly when they start placing it down. It also looks like I'm sending out an SCV. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with this, since I still have the Reaper up, and it looks like this SCV is going to be going right here. I'm not entirely sure. I think I just really want to know when his third base is going to be thrown down. Going to be coming in with the Reaper, trying to get some more intel, and really unable to get any more intel from this. I see the Forge being upgraded, see the Twilight Council also turning away. So quick tip, I believe if something is researching from the Twilight Council, then these little lights go up at faster than 1 Hz rate, I think. If it goes like slower than that, then it's just kind of being idle. It's pretty hard to notice the difference for Twilight if it's being upgraded or it's upgrading something or not, in my opinion. But I could just be bad. It's probably that. Um, let's see. So shield battery is going to be going down. I'm going to be pushing in here. The Guardian shield gets popped, and that is a lot of damage reduction. I like what I'm doing here. just kiting a couple of my units. These units could have been microed a little bit better back into the fight. And I actually focused down the pylon. There's a second shield battery, and so I'm going to be able to get in with a bunch of Marines and Marauders, focus down the last Stalker, and I'm actually able to get a decent amount of kills. I wasn't too happy with the attack at the start of that, but looking at the results, it did pretty well, especially with the micro that I had with the Marine Marauder force. I feel like that helped a lot against the Zealots. In terms of units lost, we're around 300 resources ahead, 400, if I could do math. And let's see, so I'm getting up my third base, going to be throwing down a few more barracks and a factory. Do I have my +1 on the way? I do as well. So everything's looking pretty good, especially since I have my third base almost done, while Gretorp is just now placing his down. If we look at the probe count, we are actually even in terms of workers. And how many workers did we kill? We only killed 3. And most of our units were pretty low when we were actually able to start damaging the probes. And a lot of the units that we had left over when we ran up the ramp was Marauders, and they don't do incredible amount of damage to probes. It looks like Gretorp is going to be going for a lot of charge lots, and do I have any Widow Mines on production? Doesn't look like it as of yet. And I am going to be producing a reactor so I can swap my starport onto it, continuing to produce SCVs, and things are looking pretty okay, getting my combat shields as well. And with 3 racks opening, I like to go for concussive shell over the combat shields, although I know a lot of other, or I think pro players actually favor getting the combat shields. I prefer getting concussive shells because I feel like it allows my gas to be used a little bit more fluidly to start getting my factory and my engineering bay upgrades going a little bit earlier. And I feel like the follow-up is a little bit faster just because we get the starport a little bit earlier, and I just like being aggressive. I'm a very aggressive player. A lot of the times to my own detriment, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, so a few Marauders are going to be caught super out of position. They are going to die for absolutely nothing. I guess we did 7 hull damage to this zealot, and we got to find out the position of the enemy army. Going to be loading up a couple of medevacs and going to be trying to do a 2-prong, but Gretorp was on the map, and I knew he was on the map, so this was kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie, that was dumb. And I also don't have any Widow Mines to counter the immensely large zealot count. So looks like I'm just going to be pulling SCVs here. I could have done something fancy and pulled the SCVs back and held position with them in order to try and mitigate some of that damage, but I didn't. And it looks like Gretorp is going to be re-engaging here, going to send some SCVs into my mineral line and hold. It looked like they were hold position for a second, but looks like those are going to be picked off. He did kill a lot of workers with that attack, just because I didn't really micro too well. When I'm defending like that and it's just mass zealot, I could have done some cute play and tried to kite the zealots back behind the mineral line, because all Terran units are ranged, and that would have been really good. But just me being on the map and especially going for that drop was really ambitious, especially when I knew he was already out there. And in the time, looks like Gretorp is going to be getting +3 armor, and I don't even think I have +2 on the way. Yeah, don't have +2 on the way yet, and so I'm really far behind in upgrades. And that's really bad when you're using Marine Marauder versus Mass Zealot. I'm going to be going for a drop into the natural expansion, but there isn't a real follow up with this because my other attack isn't quite in position. Going to be lifting up. Gretorp doesn't really have any anti-air units, only has a couple of stalkers, and I'm going to be engaging into his third base. Nothing is really in position for this, although the attack came in a little bit late. Storm is not quite ready. I actually attacked at pretty ideal time. Getting into this choke point to avoid these zealots from getting a full surround on my units is great as well. I still have this drop, and it looks like it is going to be going into my main base, dropping some units off, and it looks like things are going to start equalizing here after losing a ton of workers at the start of the game. Gretorp not having an easy time dealing with the multi-harass and having some of his zealots just got out of there for a second, but in the meantime we're continuing to do more damage in the main base, although this damage is kind of irrelevant since we're just randomly attacking a pylon, part of a robo facility, and part of a gateway. I could have just picked up and dropped in the natural and that might have done more damage, but I didn't. So in the meantime, let's see what we got. We are up 56 SCVs to the 41 probes, but again, like I always do, I'm overly aggressive, trying to stay on his side of the map, and because of that, I don't actually know where his army is. There's a ton of zealots in my third base, and now because I'm super out of position, I have to run all the way from the middle of the map back to my third base. Third base is getting absolutely destroyed. No lift up on the CC, and it's just going to go completely down. So my okay position has turned into a terrible position just because I didn't know where his army was. Still don't have any window mines to really deal with the massive zealot that Gretorp is producing, and that it's there's no excuse for it. I saw that he was producing a lot of zealots, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of stutter stepping here, and it looks like I can do decently with it. My +2 has finished for the attack, and I'm just going to now start my +3/+2. Gretorp is going to just finish or start his +3, and I'm going to be attacking into his third base. Storm is now done though, going to be doing a little bit of splitting here, but it's not going to be too effective since there's just still a lot of zealots that I really can't deal with. Going to be picking up, but one of the medevacs goes down. Looks like the medevacs that had units in it survived, but some of my medevacs are not being microed. My third base is still kind of dead. Trying to build a different third base at the other location since this one was kind of mined out. And Gretorp attacks in, doesn't find a base. I'm going to be kiting back like my life depends on it, because it kind of does right now. And continuing to do more stutter step micro. What I would have liked to see instead of doing all this very micro intensive stutter step is just doing like selecting the Marines and pulling them behind the Marauders so they can take all the damage while the Marines stay safe in the back. Do pick off the Observer, which is a nice kill, but Gretorp is now expanding to a fourth base, and I'm not even mining on 3 anymore. And my main base is probably almost mined out at this point as well, so we're running on low in terms of income, only getting the 1200 to his 1700 income, and I think that's resources per minute, although I might be mistaken. And the drop, I don't even know what this was. Okay, so I saw that the stalkers were over here. I might have peeked and saw him repositioning some of his units, but regardless, I'm going to be trying to poke over here as well, pick up, go into the main base, and see if I can do any form of damage in the main base, but there's no probes here at all. I can find the Templar Archives, which I do focus down, which is an okay pickup. No more High Templar for a little bit. He only warps in a couple more, but he does have, if we look at the units tab, has 7. And I have 0 ghosts, 0 window mines. I don't exactly know what this unit composition is for me. The medevacs are going to be exiting out, and for the time being, I'm doing some long distance mining to my third base in order to try and get some form of income, since I have more SCVs than I can effectively use per base. My main base has only got 1 more mineral patch, which only has 85 minerals left. Gretorp is going to be poking in again at my third base. Doesn't have too many units that shoot up, but oh, okay, 0 non-existent splits on those Marines and Marauders, and because of it, I think that's it. I don't see how I can really come back from this, especially with the CC burning. It doesn't look like I'm going to repair it in time either. I don't exactly know where it was going. It should have been going back to my natural, and I just called GG right there, which is understandable. I could have just floated it from here into here. It would have been completely safe. But I think I was trying to float it to my third base, because my I was panicking. I'm almost certain that I was panicking. And that's pretty much it. So there were a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that I definitely could have improved on. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes was just army composition. Using widow mines is a little bit micro more intensive because you have to constantly burrow and unburrow the mines. You have to look at the positioning of them, kite back to them, and I could have gotten ghosts as well, and those also were more micro intensive units because you have to not only stutter step, but then you add another layer to that to use the EMPs, and I could have been possibly just avoiding that. Also, didn't have a lot of income since my third base went down because I didn't really know where his army was. Uh, I used to play back in Heart of the Swarm at a fairly high level, and this is a common theme whenever a player gets behind. They normally do something a little bit more risky in order for them to get into the game. I don't think he necessarily had an army that could win him the game, but he went to attack my third base, and I was just straight up out of position, which let him get back into the game and actually get an advantage, which was it was pretty bad for me, but well played by him. And that's going to be that. I hope you guys all enjoy this, and I will talk to you guys later.